This is Glow in the Dark Radio. The science fiction podcast, with original independent science fiction, written and performed by Mike Luoma, with music by Kevin MacLeod. The Vatican Assassin Trilogy and The Adventures of Alibi Jones by Mike Luoma are available in ebook, trade paperback, and audiobook wherever you find your books online. Get links and details at glowinthedarkradio.com. This is the Science Fiction Podcast, Glow in the Dark Radio. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma, and I have Chapter 20 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest coming up on this episode. Alibi Jones and his crew, plus a couple of extra guests, are investigating a supposed ghost ship, which has reappeared in deep space. Psychic Lenora Schwald went on board the ancient alien craft and seemed to make mental contact with something as the ship started to show some signs of life. Then she screamed, and now she's not responding. And whatever is on board or active on the old vessel just tried to drain power from Alibi's ship. They're going to have to watch for that. They have a trans-space nullifier attached to the other ship's hull. Turning that back up seems to have calmed down whatever exotic energy was ramping up amidst the interwoven obsidian strands of the alien ship, at least for now. But Lenora Schwald isn't responding. We'll pick up the story there as we get into Chapter 20 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest on this episode of Glow in the Dark Radio. Well, a big thank you to patrons for helping me keep the podcast going. I have just lost a big patron, though, however, one of my big $10 patrons, so I always hate to see people go, but things aren't great right now, economically, I understand that. I'm sorry to see people go, but it is a hard time for some folks. For those of you who are sticking with me, thank you so much for your monthly contribution to keeping Glow in the Dark Radio going. Doesn't have to be a lot. You can become a patron for $2, $5, or $10 a month. It's up to you. And you can do that at patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio. And if you're enjoying the podcast each week and loving the stories, I would love to have you as a patron helping to support the podcast. You can find out more about all this, again, over at Patreon, Patreon. That's where I have it all organized. Just go to patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio. We'll get into Chapter 20 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest next on Glow in the Dark Radio.
Wake up, go to work. Work. Come home. Eat dinner. Rot your brain out. Go to bed. Lather. Rinse. Repeat. Are you tired of an old humdrum life? Tired of things that just weigh you down and depress you? Wouldn't you rather just focus on things that are awesome? Tune into Nutty Bites. Find out what's awesome. Nutty Bites. nimlas.org/blog.
Now here's Chapter 20 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest on Glow in the Dark Radio. Lenora! Lenora Schwald, do you hear me? Alibi called again. Nothing. I'm going over there, Alibi said. Kat, you've got the bridge. Emily, you're with me. Great, she said. She shut down her workstation and got up to leave the bridge with Alibi. Alibi and Emily walked quickly through the cruiser, They stopped long enough at the ship's armory for each of them to grab a blaster pistol, and then, armed, made their way through the airlock into the shelter section on board the alien craft. "Looks normal enough in here," Emily said, glancing around the shelter. "Where is she?" "In the ship itself," Alibi said, "in one of the small rooms off the main pressurized chamber." Alibi led Emily through the shelter's external door and into the pressurized part of the alien ship. Everything in the large oval space appeared exactly as Alibi had left it. "Nothing's changed," Alibi said. "Weird." Alibi floated over to the smaller room where Lenora Schwald had decided to meditate. She was sitting in the same lotus position he'd left her in, floating with her back to him. "Lenora!" he tried. No response. Alibi floated around her to see her face. He let out a gasp when he saw Schwald's expression. Oh no! He'd left her in such peace. Now her face was contorted, frozen as if in mid-scream, her mouth agape. Her eyes were open wide, with an unseeing stare. "Is she dead?" Emily asked. "Doesn't matter," Alibi said. He looked into Schwald's blank eyes. "Doesn't look like there's anything left of her in there, even if she is alive. No more there." Emily hunched down next to the woman and pressed her fingers against her neck. "She has a pulse," Emily said, "but it's erratic and fading." "Let's get her back on the cruiser," Alibi said. He moved around behind Schwald, reached over, and turned her so her back was to him. He braced himself against the floor and pushed her gently forward. "Humphreys," Alibi called over the comm, "get the stretcher from the aid station and meet us in the shelter section." Alibi pushed Schwald a little harder. She floated ahead of him out of the small room in her frozen, floating lotus position. "What?" Humphreys came back over the comm, confused. "Cat?" Alibi called back. "Yes, Alibi." "Show Humphreys where the stretcher is," Alibi said. "Yes, Alibi." Emily floated up alongside, and together they guided Schwald back to the shelter section. Humphreys was waiting with the stretcher. He pushed it out through the airlock door, and the three of them maneuvered Schwald onto it. Alibi turned on the anti-gravity controls on the stretcher, and they eased Schwald through the shelter, the airlock, and on into the cruiser. The three of them guided the floating stretcher to the cruiser's aid station, with Schwald's sitting figure perched atop it. Once in the cruiser's infirmary, they gently opened her arms and legs to fit her into the aid station so the diagnostics and healing systems could take over. "I don't think she's breathing," Humphreys said, as he, Alibi, and Emily watched the aid station work on Schwald. The aid station didn't find any brain activity as it tried to revive her. Schwald's autonomic nervous system was shutting down. Bodily functions were ceasing as the control unit, her brain, stopped working. Alibi, Emily, and Humphreys looked on as the aid station continued to try to revive her for another 5 minutes. Then it too stopped. "Subject deceased," the aid station declared. "Damn," Alibi said, his voice breaking. Emily started, but she paused. "There's no reason," Humphreys said. "No apparent reason Lenora should be dead." "Except she is," Alibi said. "Leave it to the scientist." "I'm going to my cabin," Emily said. She left the two men at the aid station as she walked out of the infirmary. "Okay, Doc," Alibi said to Humphreys. "Guess you and I have to take care of the body." "Alibi!" Cat called over the comm as Alibi and Humphreys finished laying Schwald's bagged corpse among the other bodies they'd recovered. "In the cargo hold, Cat," Alibi answered. "What's up?" "Both nullifiers are operating at full power," Cat said. "But we are once again experiencing a power drain." "Again? I'll be right there," Alibi said. He and Humphreys closed up the cargo hold and then made their way back up to the bridge. Cat rose from the co-pilot's seat as they entered. "The power drain is increasing," Cat said. "It is rather minimal right now. Was almost imperceptible at first, but it has become more obvious. At this rate, we will be drained of all power in a week." The news made Alibi breathe a little easier. "A week? So we have some time," he said. "Unless the power drain rate changes and grows logarithmically," Cat said. "Then it could be a matter of days or hours." "Does it look like it will?" Alibi asked. "It is too minimal now to measure for that," Cat told him. "I can only get a vague extrapolation based on current readings. That is where the estimate of a week comes from." "Okay, I've had enough," Alibi said. "Let's get out of here." "Alibi?" Emily said, her voice quavering. She stood in the entrance to the bridge, her face ashen, all the blood drained away. "What the hell?" "Emily, are you okay?" he asked. "I just saw Mac," she said. "Mac?" "Mac," Emily said. "My old boyfriend." "The bad ex?" Alibi asked, confused. "Out here? What, he bothering you again? Calling you on the comm? I warned him about—" "No, not him. The one before him. Peter MacDonald," Emily said. "The safe captain?" Alibi asked. "But I thought, isn't he—" Alibi looked out at the alien ship through the viewport, and then back at Emily. "He died." "Yup." "So how did you just see him?" Alibi asked. "Watching old footage? Alibi, tell me, do you believe in ghosts?" "Ghosts?" As Alibi spoke, a glowing greenish-yellow light filled the bridge of the cruiser. The light coalesced into a blurry figure. The figure began to acquire detail and became a translucent green man in a helmeted safe EVA suit. "Don't let me die again!" the figure rasped in a rough mechanical voice. It turned toward Emily, reaching for her. "Please, Emily! Don't let me die again!" That was Chapter 20 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest, part of the Adventures of Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus on Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. Don't let me die again. Again? The ghost of Peter MacDonald? Emily's Mac? On the bridge? We've reached the scene that Federico Guillen illustrated for the cover of the novel, as Mac's ghost shows up on the bridge of Alibi's ship as they're investigating the ghost ship. Well, Lenora Schwald is dead, and the ghost ship seems to be coming back to life and draining their ship's power. And now it looks like there's a ghost on the bridge of Alibi's ship. So we're going to pick things up right here as we get into Chapter 21 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest on our next episode of Glow in the Dark Radio. Once again, a huge thank you to patrons for sticking with me and helping to support the podcast. I have just lost a major patron, one at the $10 level. So I understand people need to move on and can't always support what they once did, and I genuinely appreciate the support over the years from this patron. They've been awesome. So it's not like, oh, woe is me, but kind of woe is me because I've lost a regular patron. If you can step up, I would love to have you. It's up to you. Like I say, it's not the best economic times, but you can do it for $2, $5, or $10 a month. And it's all at Patreon, Patreon. So it's patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio. Head over there. You can learn more about becoming a patron and doing it for whatever level you're comfortable at. If you are comfortable at $2, $5, or $10 a month. It's all voluntary, so it's all up to you. But I'd love to have your support if you can. That is all for this week. I am your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma. Thank you again for listening to Glow in the Dark Radio. Glow in the Dark Radio. This podcast presentation is copyright 2026 by Michael F. Luoma and is protected under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License, CC by NC ND 4.0. Music by Kevin MacLeod. You can find his work at incompetech.com. Mike's books are available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook, wherever you find books online. Get links and more details at glowinthedarkradio.com and mikeluoma.com. This has been a presentation of Glow in the Dark Radio.